Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a review on the Stuart Weitzman boots. I own them in 3 styles, so I have the Lowlands style, the Highlands style, and also the 50-50 boots. And whenever I post a photo of me wearing them on Instagram, I always get so many comments and questions. So I thought I would go ahead and film a full comparison and review, comparing all 3 styles, discussing which my favourite is, whether I think they're worth the money, pros and cons, wear and tear, all that kind of stuff. And I'm also going to be sharing some maintenance tips as well. So I hope you guys enjoy this, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. So first up we have the 50-50 boots, which are right here. They are quite large boots, so I'm going to try and fit them on camera. And I've had these about 2 months now, I think. I bought them at the same time as my Highland boots. I have had my Lowland boots a little bit longer, but I've worn all 3 an absolute ton. I've been loving them and living in them this winter, so I do have a fairly good idea of wear and tear and comfort and all that kind of stuff. But the 50-50 boots do differ from the Highland and the Lowland style, so they don't tie up, they are just pull on, and they don't secure with any kind of tie at the top. They do have this stretchy panel as well, so whereas the Highland and the Lowland boots do have the kind of one material all over, the 50-50 boots have the suede or the leather, if you go for leather, on the front, and then on the back they do have this stretchy panel which runs all the way through. And even though the front does go over the knee, the back just comes to the top of the leg. So Stuart Weitzman actually classifies these as to the knee boots rather than over the knee boots. And they are very, very comfortable to wear. I will say they are very tricky to get on and off though, and I guess it is because of this stretchy panel, so you really have to tug them to get them on, and you really have to tug them to get them off. They do get easier with time though, so I find them a lot easier to get on and off now, but I don't know if that's because I'm getting better at it or if the boots are softening. Maybe it's a combination of both, but I have been loving these. The look is very different from the Lowlands though, so this is more of a sturdy classic boot. I think it has the same kind of heel, but the rest of the shoe, it's a much rounded toe, it's a harder harder toe cap than the Lowlands, and it's just a more kind of classic boot shape, I think. Whereas the Lowlands style, which I have right here, it's a lot more dainty in the boot style, I think, and it's a lot flatter as well. So they do have quite a different look in my opinion. I will try and insert modelling shots as well so you can see what they look like on, but I really like the look of the 50-50. I think they're a really nice solid winter boot choice, and even though the Lowlands are very lovely as well, I think the Lowlands can sometimes feel a little bit dressy and not appropriate for all occasions, whereas these can look dressy if you want, but they're also just perfect for casual everyday. I've worn these to work on casual Fridays and I think they look great, whereas I wouldn't necessarily wear the Lowlands to casual Fridays. So I think these are a great boot. They're very, very comfortable as well. So all 3 are actually really comfortable. I don't have anything bad to say about the comfort, and for the look I think these are absolutely gorgeous, and they are a really nice in-between point for me between over the knee boots and just regular to the knee boots. So they're not as extreme as over the knee boots, but they are a little bit more on trend than kind of to the knee boots. So these are a really, really nice halfway point. They are also cheaper than the Lowland and the Highland styles as well. So these cost £475 in the UK. I don't know off the top of my head the US prices, but I'll leave all details down below. Whereas the Highland and the Lowland styles I think are £665, so it's almost £200 difference, and for me I think these are absolutely gorgeous and I prefer these over the Lowland style. So I would definitely recommend these if you're thinking about going for a low heeled style from Stuart Weitzman, because I think they are gorgeous. Next up are the Lowland boots, and these are the classic over the knee style with the tie right at the top there, which you do kind of have to maneuver yourself to do it or get someone else to do it. I usually get Dan to tie mine, which he obviously loves, but they have the slightly pointier toe, and these have a slightly more elegant shape, I think. Mine are in the colour praline, I believe. I don't think this colour is available anymore, but you can get very similar neutral colours. So they do a slightly more grey version of this, a slightly more green version. They do a few different variations. I really like these, however I will say that they're probably my least favourite out of all 3 I own, and the reason is quite trivial, but they do sag a little bit around the ankle, and they all sag a little bit. You know, I don't think it's the nature of over the knee boots that they're all going to stand poker straight. But these ones tend to sag a little bit more, and I just can't ever seem to straighten them, and I don't know if that's because my legs are a funny shape or if I'm wearing them wrong. I have no idea, but they do sag a little bit more and I just don't love the look of that as much. I also always think that if I'm going to go quite casual, I'm going to go with the 50-50 boots. If I'm going to go more dressy, I'm going to go with the Highland boots. Whereas these ones, as I mentioned, I wouldn't really wear these to anything like casual Friday, and I just don't think they're quite as versatile. That said, I do really like them still, and I'm glad I got them in a colour other than black just to mix it up, because I don't really have anything in this colour. So I still think they're very lovely, and if you want something that is more elegant than the 50-50 but you don't want to go for a high heel, then these are a really good choice. The comfort remains the same for all three. They're very comfortable. I've had no breaking in issues with any of them, so I haven't had to worry about blisters or sore toes or anything like that. They've all been really great, and they're all really beautifully made boots. And then finally I have the Highland boots, and these are the ones I was actually least sure about buying because they are a high-heeled boot and I just didn't know if I was going to get the wear out of them, and for the price I just didn't know if it was going to be a good value for money purchase. But they have become my absolute favourites. I prefer them to both my 50-50 boots and my Lowland boots. I would recommend them to absolutely anyone, and I will say that the comfort was a major concern for me because I just knew if they weren't comfortable I wasn't going to wear them, but they are so much more comfortable than I thought they would be. I read a lot of reviews and there were really mixed reviews on the comfort, and I saw a lot of people say that they were comfortable and a lot of people say that they weren't at all, and I'm always more inclined to believe the people who say that they weren't comfortable, because I also know people who think that Louboutins are like slippers, and I'm not one of those people, and so I'm always very attuned to discomfort with heels. But these are really great. You know, they're not going to be, I can run a marathon in them, but I can definitely go to dinner in these, I can go to the cinema, I can walk a fair bit. They're just really great. They hold your foot in place, they don't slip, and they're just absolutely wonderful. As I mentioned before, no breaking in issues with any of them, and these are just fantastic. They're also the most flattering boots ever, more so than the 50-50 boots and the Lowland style, I think. They elongate your legs, they make them just look very shapely, and I just think they're fantastic. They look good with jeans, with skirts, pretty much everything, and these are one of my favourite purchases of the year. I am completely obsessed with them and I could not recommend them highly enough. I wanted to mention sizing as well, because I know that is confusing, especially for these boots, because Stuart Weitzman tends to have their own sizing conversion, so I would definitely recommend reading up on their sizing conversion and charts on their website. I have read the whole thing quite thoroughly and they have their own special way of doing things, so I'll link that down below if you are thinking about buying these boots online. I also read a ton of reviews and a lot of them recommended sizing down, which is what I did do, and they all fit perfectly. So I got a size 38 in all three of the boots and they are a perfect fit. Usually I would take a size 38.5 in designer shoes or in boots. There are a few designer exceptions, but most of the time I would take a 38.5 and I went for a 38. So I went down half a size. I could potentially have gone down half a size further, but to be honest I wouldn't really want to risk it because these are just the perfect fit for me. I can wear them with socks, I can wear them with stockings if I wanted to. They're just a nice in-between fit and they're just all very, very comfortable. I would also say to be aware of the width of the shoe as well. So I didn't know this until I had to research it because I wanted to buy a pair of Stuart Weitzman boots in their sale, and they do have different widths according to whether you're in Europe, Asia or the US. So in Europe and Asia they don't give you a choice of width, they just give you their standard width and that's it. In the US you do have 3 different widths, and the largest width that they offer in the US is what they give as standard in Europe and Asia, and I have no idea why that is. Maybe Americans just have much skinnier feet than we do in Europe and Asia, but you do have the choice of widths in the US. I don't think all the department stores that carry Stuart Weitzman carry all the different widths, but definitely if you go onto the Stuart Weitzman website you select your size and it will also ask you to select your width as well, and if you go for the largest one then that is what's standard in Europe and Asia. In terms of fit, they all fit really well. You know, they do a great job of staying up. You do have the ties right here for both the Highland and the Lowland style, and I've never had any issues with them falling down. Once in a while you might want to tug them back up just to make sure they're in place, but generally speaking they hold up just fine. In terms of how they fit on my legs, so I would say that I have larger than average legs for someone my size, and I definitely find a struggle sometimes to find boots that fit. You know, hunter boots they do fit, but they're definitely on the snug side, and I was concerned whether these boots would be made for someone with very, very skinny legs. However, that has not been the case at all. I find them very comfortable to wear, they fit just fine, and more to the point they're very flattering as well, which I love. In terms of if there were any that was a bit of a tight squeeze, I would say the Lowland ones were, and right here they can be a little bit tight. I don't know why these are tighter than my Highlands, because they have the exact same design. So they have this kind of detail right here where it cinches in, but the Highlands I haven't had any issue. These fit perfectly right from the get-go, and the 50/50 boots were very comfortable as well. These have the elasticated backing, and they were a little bit snug the first time I wore them, but they stretched out a little bit and now they are super comfy. But even with the Lowlands, you know, now I can wear them absolutely fine, no issues, and I can wear them with jeans, with leggings, all kinds of things. So if you do have legs slightly on the large side, don't shy away from them, at least give them a try, because I was really pleasantly surprised. I've also read reviews from women who have very skinny legs, and they also say that these boots fit them perfectly as well. So I don't know what kind of magic Stuart Weitzman has implemented, but it seems to be working, because these just seem to be universally flattering boots. Up next is care and maintenance, and I've done a fair bit of research into this because I want my boots to look as good as possible for as long as possible, because these are really hefty purchases. So I wanted to make the investment, and I always make sure to store my boots with a shoe tree. I get these from Amazon, but you can get them a whole bunch of different places. I don't have a brand preference, it's literally just whatever comes up at the top of the page. These are cool though, because you do have the little lever, and so you just pop it in and then it expands out. It makes sure that your boot stays nice and kind of rigid, so you can stand them upright, which looks nice if you're displaying your boots like I am, but it also makes sure that it holds their shape, especially because otherwise these boots are very floppy as well. So it's nice to have that kind of structure as well to keep them nice and shapely. And then I also have two sprays, one of which I haven't used yet and the other one I have. So the one I have is the water repellent Scotch Guard spray, and this is for suede and leather to make your boots water repellent, and it's a seriously amazing spray. I just did a search on Amazon, and they do have a few different sprays up, which I'm sure all do the same thing. So if you went for another one, I'm sure it would work equally as well. I happen to go for this one, and it's great. You spray it all over your boots. Make sure to do it in an outside area, because it is very toxic smelling, so you don't want to kind of pollute your home and your lungs. But I did it on the balcony, and I just laid a black bin liner down, and I just sprayed it all over, really simple, and you just leave it to dry. And I think you need to leave them for rest for about 12 hours or so, and then they are completely water repellent. So I've done them on my 50/50 boots, I've done them on my Lowlands. I haven't done my Highlands yet just because I haven't gone around to it, but I will do as soon as I get a chance to. And I've also done them on these boots, and I wanted to show you these because I've only done it on one of the boots, just to show you the colour difference if there was any, and I really can't see any colour difference. So I've sprayed the left boot with a spray, I've left the right boot completely bare, and I mean, if there is any colour difference, it's very, very minimal in my opinion, so not a concern. I was concerned when I was first doing my Lowland boots, which is why I wanted to do these first, and I thought it was just kind of a nifty experiment to only do one to show you, but definitely very impressed. I've also done the water test, so I have put these under the tap. I didn't want to do it with my Stuart Weitzman boots, but these are a little bit cheaper, so I put these under the tap and water literally just bounces right off them. Absolutely incredible, so definitely recommend spraying your boots. There's no real change in texture, no change in colour, so it's worthwhile doing, especially for something this expensive, I think. And the other spray is the Punch Suede Renovator. I haven't needed to use this yet, which is why I haven't, but it's basically to bring suede back to life. It is in the colour black, so I can only use this on my Highland boots and my 50/50 boots, but I wanted to get this just to keep the suede looking nice and fresh. It basically paints over the black, so you get the blacks of blacks, if that makes sense, because you can get little white marks from black suede. Mine haven't been too bad at all, which is why I haven't used it yet, but in a few months, maybe at the end of winter, I think I'm going to try it on these. Again, they've been faring really well, even though I first started wearing these without the water repellent spray. They've still done very, very well, but I just wanted to get this for when they are looking a little bit more worn, just to bring them back to looking new again. But at the moment, they've been wearing absolutely wonderfully, and I'm really glad I got the suede because I personally prefer the look, and they've been wearing excellently. And then finally, I just wanted to talk about price and value for money and preference as well. So you guys have probably guessed by now, but in order of preference, I have the Highland boots right at the top. They are my absolute favourites. And then the 50/50 boots, and then the Lowland boots. I love them all, and I wouldn't want to give any of them up, and I'm very pleased I have all of them. But if I had to pick, those would be my favourites in that order, just in terms of how good they make me feel and how much I enjoy wearing them. The Highland boots are just completely up there for me. I love them. And the 50-50 boots are just so practical, and I love the Lowlands as well, but they're just not quite as favoured as the 50-50 and the Highland boots, so highly recommend them all though. In terms of price, these are obviously really expensive, and I bought the 50-50 boots and the Highlands together. I was definitely thinking at the time I could use that money for a bag if I wanted to, they're that expensive, but I decided to go for the boots, one because I have enough handbags, but two, also I just wanted to get something a little bit different, and I loved my Lowland ones so much, and now I love the other ones even more, and I do think that they're just such a great and easy way to bring your wardrobe up to date. They're really flattering, and for me they just make me feel really good, so I would definitely recommend them. I do think they're worth money even though they are a splurge, and you can definitely get dupes as well, so you can get cheaper versions, but from what I've seen there's nothing quite like the Stuart Weitzman boots. I think they do fit really well, and I personally do think that they are worth a splurge. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope that you found it useful. If you have any questions for me, then leave them below in the comment section and I will try and get back to you. I will leave links for the care guides and the sprays and the boots as well, and all that kind of stuff down in the description bar. If you liked the video, please do give it a thumbs up, and as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.